The envelope was addressed to my sister, but it was sitting in my mailbox like a ticking bomb. My name is Ramona, and I should have minded my own business. Should have walked that letter right over to Fiona's pristine doorstep and handed it over with a smile. But when you're surviving on ramen noodles and your 5-year-old asks why he can't have the cereal with the toy inside, you tend to notice things. Like how your sister drives a brand new BMW while lecturing you about financial responsibility. Mommy, can we get the good mac and cheese today? Adrian tugged at my work uniform as we stood in the grocery store, staring at the wall of orange boxes. The good stuff cost $2 more. $2 that meant choosing between his lunch money and keeping the lights on. Not today, baby, but look. I grabbed the generic box, forcing enthusiasm into my voice. This one has a dinosaur on it. That's way cooler, right? He nodded, but I caught the disappointment flickering across his face. 5 years old, and he was already learning to swallow his wants. The guilt twisted in my stomach like a knife. My phone buzzed. Fiona. Hey sis, family dinner Sunday. Mom's making her famous roast. You and Adrian better be there. No excuses this time. I stared at the text, jaw clenching. Her famous roast that I'd helped pay for somehow. There was always a catch with these family dinners. Always some way I'd leave and feeling smaller than when I arrived. Sunday came like a death sentence. I dressed Adrian in his one good shirt and drove my rattling Honda to my parents' house, the same house where Fiona now lived rent-free while I scraped together $800 a month for a one-bedroom apartment that smelled like cigarettes and broken dreams. Ramona! Mom's voice carried that particular pitch reserved for wayward children and disappointing investments. You're late. Traffic, I lied, unwrapping the store-bought pie I'd grabbed from the discount rack. Around the table sat the usual suspects, Mom, Dad, Fiona, and a few cousins who'd managed to avoid whatever curse had landed on my head. Fiona swept into the dining room, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary. New jewelry caught the light as she moved, delicate gold pieces that whispered expensive in a way my Target earrings never could. Oh, Ramona. She pulled me into one of those hugs that felt more like a performance. You look tired. Are you sleeping enough? Hard to sleep when you work 2 jobs, I said, settling Adrian into his chair. Still at the diner? Dad's voice carried that familiar edge of disappointment. And the cleaning service? Someone has to pay the bills. Well, if Cruz wasn't such a deadbeat, Fiona started. Don't. The word came out sharper than I intended. Just don't. An uncomfortable silence settled over the table. Adrian looked between the adults, sensing the tension but not understanding it. My ex-husband had become the family's favorite villain, the convenient explanation for why I struggled while everyone else seemed to thrive. I'm just saying, Fiona continued, her voice dripping with practiced sympathy, it's not fair that you have to carry this burden alone. That man should be supporting his son. The others nodded in agreement. Poor Ramona, abandoned by her worthless husband. Poor Ramona, too proud to ask for help. Poor Ramona, making everyone uncomfortable with her obvious poverty. After dinner, Fiona cornered me in the kitchen while I helped with dishes. Here, she pressed an envelope into my hands. It's not much, but maybe it'll help with groceries this week. I opened it. $200. Enough to buy the good mac and cheese for a month, maybe catch up on the electric bill. But the way she watched me, like she was feeding a stray cat, made my skin crawl. Thank you, I managed. We're family, she said, but something in her tone felt off. Rehearsed. We take care of each other. That night, I tucked Adrian into bed and sat in my kitchen, staring at the money. Family help always came with invisible strings attached, little reminders of my place in the hierarchy. But what choice did I have? I was sorting through mail the next morning when I found it, the envelope addressed to Fiona Richards, delivered to my box by mistake. The return address made my blood run cold. County Court Services, Child Support Division. My hands shook as I held it. This had to be a mistake. Cruz hadn't paid child support in 5 years. The court had given up trying to collect from him long ago. But there it was, in black and white official lettering. And suddenly, all those expensive clothes and mysterious generosity started making a different kind of sense. I stared at that envelope for 3 hours before I opened it. Adrian was at kindergarten, and I'd called in sick to both jobs, something I never did because I couldn't afford to lose the pay. But this envelope felt like it might contain a bomb, and I needed to be alone when it exploded. My hands trembled as I slid my finger under the seal. The letterhead was official, intimidating. Notice of payment processing. Case 447291RS. The words swam in front of my eyes at first. Then they snapped into focus with brutal clarity. Payment received, $847. Total payments processed, $50, not $20 over 60 months. Account holder, Fiona Richards. Routing number, 4472-8891-2234. I read it again, then again. The numbers didn't change. $50,000, 5 years of payments, $847 every single month, like clockwork. I grabbed my laptop and pulled up my bank statements, scrolling back through months of overdraft fees and declined transactions. Nothing. Not a single deposit from child support. Not ever. My phone was in my hand before I realized I was dialing. County Child Support Services, this is Janet. Hi, I need to check on payments for case number 47291S. My voice sounded strange, distant. I'll need to verify your identity first. Name? Ramona Jordan. I'm the custodial parent. Keys clicked in the background. I show regular payments being processed to the designated account. Is there a problem with the deposits? What account? What's the account number on file? More clicking. I can't give you the full number for security reasons, but it ends in 20234. The account holder is listed as Fiona Richards. Is this a joint account? The phone slipped from my numb fingers and clattered onto the kitchen table. Fiona, my sister, the same sister who'd been handing me pity money while stealing my son's support payments. I called the number back. I need to speak to a supervisor. Someone has been stealing my child support payments. 20 minutes later, I had the full story. Cruz had been paying faithfully since our divorce was finalized, every month without fail. The payments were being deposited into an account that Fiona had somehow gotten authorized to receive them. How was that even possible? I asked the supervisor. The paperwork shows a power of attorney designation. It looks like it was filed by your family's attorney, Tegan Marshall. The custodial parent, that's you, would have had to sign off on this arrangement. I never signed anything like that. Ma'am, I'm looking at your signature right here. My signature. On documents I'd never seen. I hung up and immediately called Cruz. We hadn't spoken in 2 years, not since our last screaming match about money and responsibility and all the ways we'd failed each other. Ramona, his voice was cautious, surprised. Have you been paying child support? Silence stretched between us. Then, of course I have. Every month since the divorce. Why would you? I never got it. Not a single payment. That's impossible. It comes right out of my paycheck. I have the stubs. Send them to me. All of them. Right now. Ramona, what's going on? Just send them. An hour later, my email chimed. 57 pay stubs, each showing a deduction for child support. $847 every single month. Money that should have kept us fed, housed, stable. Money that would have meant Adrian could have the good cereal, the name brand shoes, the security of knowing his mother wasn't drowning. I called Fiona. Hey sis, what's up? Her voice was so casual, so normal, like she wasn't a thief, like she hadn't been stealing from her own nephew. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Of course. What is it? Have you been receiving Adrian's child support payments? The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Fiona? Why would you ask that? Because I have documentation showing that Cruz has been paying and the money's been going to your account. That's ridiculous. Why would... I have the court documents, Fiona. I know. Her breathing changed. When she spoke again, her voice was different, harder. You don't understand the situation. Then explain it to me. Mom and Dad thought it would be better if the money was managed properly. You were so emotional after the divorce, making poor decisions. You stole from my son. We were protecting... I hung up. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. $50,000. While I'd worked myself to exhaustion, while Adrian had learned to accept disappointment as normal, while I'd swallowed my pride and accepted their charity, they'd been stealing from us. The envelope sat on my kitchen table like evidence at a crime scene, which I realized was exactly what it was. I took pictures of everything. The letter, the pay stubs, my empty bank statements. Then I Googled family law attorneys near me and started making calls. The first attorney I called wanted $5,000 up front. The second wanted $3,000. The third, Maria Santos, agreed to meet me for a consultation after I explained the situation. Bring everything, she said. Every document, every email, every text message. I spent the next 2 days gathering evidence like I was building a case for the FBI. Bank statements, pay stubs, court documents, screenshots of Fiona's social media showing off her expensive purchases. The paper trail painted a picture that made me sick. Maria's office was small but professional. She listened without interrupting as I laid out the whole story, spreading documents across her desk like puzzle pieces. This is fraud, she said finally. Clear-cut financial fraud and identity theft. But I need to understand how they got your signature on the power of attorney. I never signed one. Someone did, and it's notarized. She held up the document. Do you recognize this signature? I stared at it. It looked like mine, but something was off. Too perfect, maybe. Like someone had traced it. I need to talk to Tegan Marshall, I said. The family attorney? Be careful. If she's involved, she might try to cover her tracks. I called Tegan that afternoon, keeping my voice casual. Tegan, it's Ramona. I hope you don't mind me calling directly. Of course not, dear. What can I do for you? I'm trying to organize my financial records, and I'm missing some paperwork from the divorce. Could you send me copies of everything I signed? Certainly. I'll have my assistant pull the file. Actually, I'm particularly looking for the power of attorney document, the one about the child support payments. Silence. Then, power of attorney? Yes, the one that authorized Fiona to receive the payments on my behalf. Ramona, let me check the file and call you back. She hung up. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Ramona, I think there might be some confusion. I don't show any power of attorney in your file. But the court has one, with my signature and your notarization. Another long pause. I need to look into this. Can you come in tomorrow? I'll be there. That evening, Cruz called. I've been thinking about our conversation, he said. Something doesn't add up. When we got divorced, Fiona told me you didn't want to deal with me directly. She said you'd asked her to handle the support payments. She what? She called me about a month after the divorce was final. Said you were too upset to talk to me, but that you needed the money to go through her so she could help you manage it. She had me change the payment information. My grip tightened on the phone. I never asked her to do that. She said you were having trouble with bills, making poor decisions. She showed me some paperwork that looked official. What kind of paperwork? A letter from you asking her to help, and something that looked like a court document. Cruz, I never wrote any letter. I never asked for her help. Jesus, Ramona, what did she do? She stole from us for 5 years. The next morning, I sat in Tegan's office while she shuffled through files with increasing panic. I don't understand, she kept saying. This document, I don't remember notarizing this. But that's your stamp, your signature. Yes, but she pulled out a ledger. I keep records of everything I notarize. This date isn't in my book. So someone forged your notarization? It appears so. Ramona, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Who had access to your stamp? Your office? Tegan's face went pale. Fiona helped me with filing sometimes. She had keys to the office. I need you to document this. Write down everything you just told me. Of course. And Ramona, I think you should call the police. I left Tegan's office with a signed statement and a growing sense of rage. Fiona hadn't just stolen money. She'd orchestrated an elaborate fraud, forging documents and manipulating everyone around her. My phone buzzed. A text from Fiona. We need to talk. Meet me at Mom and Dad's tonight. I stared at the message. She knew I was on to her. Instead of responding, I called Maria. I need to record a phone conversation. Is that legal? In this state, yes. As long as one party consents. That would be you. Good, because I think she's about to confess. I called Fiona back, hitting record on my phone app. Ramona, thank God. Look, I know you're upset, but you have to understand. Understand what? That you've been stealing from your nephew? It wasn't stealing. We were helping you. You were a mess after the divorce, making terrible decisions. Someone had to step in. By forging documents, by lying to Cruz, by letting me work 2 jobs while you lived off my son's money? You're being dramatic. We always made sure you had what you needed. $50,000, Fiona. You stole $50,000. We invested it. We were growing it for Adrian's future. Where is it now? Silence. Where's the money, Fiona? Some of it. We had expenses. The house needed repairs. And Mom's medical bills. You spent my son's money on house repairs? It's complicated, Ramona. You wouldn't understand. Try me. But she'd already hung up. I had it all on tape. The admission, the justification, the lies, everything I needed to destroy her. I needed to know who else was involved. Angela, my younger cousin, had always been the family observer. Quiet, watchful, but surprisingly perceptive. If anyone had noticed something off about Fiona's sudden wealth, it would be her. I found Angela at the coffee shop where she worked part-time while finishing her master's degree. She looked surprised to see me. Ramona, what are you doing here? I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. She glanced around the nearly empty shop, then poured herself a coffee and sat across from me. This sounds serious. Have you noticed anything strange about Fiona lately? Her spending? Her lifestyle? Angela's eyes narrowed. Why are you asking? Just answer me, please. She stirred her coffee slowly, considering. She's been different, more flashy. Remember when she bought that BMW? She said it was a bonus from work, but I looked up her salary range online. Marketing coordinators don't make BMW money. What else? The vacation house in Cabo, the designer bags. She took Mom shopping last month and dropped $3,000 like it was nothing. Angela leaned forward. Ramona, what's going on? She's been stealing Adrian's child support payments for 5 years. Angela's cup clattered against the saucer. What? I showed her the documents, the recorded conversation, everything. She listened with growing horror. Oh my God, that's why you've been struggling so much. We all thought Cruz was a deadbeat. That's what she wanted everyone to think. But how did she... The paperwork? The legal stuff? Forged. She had access to Tegan's office, used her notary stamp. Angela sat back, processing. The family dinners, when she'd slip you money acting like she was being so generous. She was giving you back your own stolen money. Exactly. What are you going to do? I'm filing charges, but first, I need to know, do Mom and Dad know? Angela's face told me everything before she spoke. They know something. Maybe not the details, but she pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos. Look at this. She showed me a picture from last Christmas. Fiona handing our parents an envelope, their faces lighting up with surprise and gratitude. She gave them $10,000 for their anniversary trip to Europe. Said it was her Christmas bonus. Marketing coordinators don't get $10,000 bonuses either. No, they don't. And when I mentioned that to Mom, she got defensive. Said Fiona was doing well for herself and we shouldn't question family generosity. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Drop it, or you'll regret it. I showed Angela the message. Someone's scared, she said. Good. They should be. The next morning, I met with Maria to file the formal complaints. Fraud, identity theft, embezzlement. The charges were serious enough to put Fiona in prison. This will take time, Maria warned, and it's going to get ugly. Your family will close ranks. Let them. What about your son? This is going to be public. I thought about Adrian. Innocent and trusting, who still asked why Daddy didn't love him enough to help us. He deserves to know his father tried. He deserves to know someone fought for him. That afternoon, I picked Adrian up from school and took him for ice cream, the good kind with real chunks of cookie dough. He chattered about his day while I watched him, memorizing his smile before everything changed. Mommy, why are you sad? I'm not sad, baby. I'm just thinking. About what? About how much I love you and how I'm going to make sure you have everything you deserve. He nodded seriously, like he understood more than he should have to at 5 years old. My phone rang. Mom. Ramona, Fiona told me you've been asking questions about money. What's this about? Ask Fiona. She's upset. She says you're accusing her of terrible things. I'm not accusing her of anything. I'm stating facts. Honey, I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Mom. Just theft. Don't be ridiculous. Fiona would never. $50,000, Mom. She stole $50,000 from your grandson. Silence. That's impossible. I have the documentation. Bank records, court papers, recorded confessions. It's all real. Ramona, you need to calm down. You're obviously confused. I'm filing charges tomorrow. You can't be serious. Watch me. I hung up and immediately called Cruz. I need you to get a lawyer, I told him. We're going to court, and I need you to testify about how Fiona manipulated you into changing the payment information. Already done. My attorney says we have a solid case for fraud and that I might be able to recover damages too. Good, because this is war now. That evening, as I tucked Adrian into bed, he asked, Mommy, are we going to be okay? Yes, baby. We're going to be better than okay. Promise? I promise. But as I turned off his light, I found another note slipped under my front door. Last warning. Back off or face the consequences. I crumpled it up and threw it in the trash. They had no idea who they were threatening. The consequences were coming, all right. Just not for me. The family brunch invitation came 3 days later, handwritten on Mom's expensive stationery. Family gathering this Sunday. We need to discuss some concerns. Please come. Mom, I almost laughed. Concerns. Like I was the problem. I showed up with Adrian in tow, armed with a small recording device in my purse and a smile that could cut glass. The dining room buzzed with nervous energy. Mom, Dad, Fiona, Aunt Camila, and a few cousins I barely recognized anymore. Ramona, Mom's voice was too bright, too forced. We're so glad you came. Fiona sat at the far end of the table, her usual designer outfit replaced with something more subdued. She wouldn't meet my eyes. So, Dad cleared his throat, your mother tells me there's been some confusion about finances. No confusion, just theft. Aunt Camila gasped. Ramona, really? That's a serious accusation. It's a serious crime. Now, let's all calm down, Mom said, passing around mimosas like alcohol could solve fraud. I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding. $50,000 isn't a misunderstanding. Fiona finally spoke, her voice small. I was trying to help. Help yourself, you mean? That's enough, Dad snapped. Fiona has been nothing but generous to this family. With my son's money. Alleged money, Aunt Camilla interjected. We only have your word that... I pulled out my phone and played the recording of Fiona's confession. Her voice filled the room. We invested it. We were growing it for Adrian's future. The silence was deafening. Where's the money now, Fiona? I asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. She stared at her plate. Some of it was used for family expenses. What kind of expenses? The house needed a new roof, Mom's medical bills from her surgery, Dad's car repairs. I turned to my parents. So you did know? Mom's face crumpled. We thought... Fiona said you had agreed to let her manage the money, that you were having trouble with finances. And you believed that? You believed I would struggle to feed my son while letting my sister manage thousands of dollars? You were so angry after the divorce, Dad said defensively. So emotional. We thought maybe it was better... Better for who? For you? So you could take European vacations and buy new cars with my son's money? It wasn't like that, Mom whispered. Then what was it like? Fiona suddenly stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. Fine. You want the truth? Yes, I took the money, but I was protecting Adrian from you. The room went dead silent. Protecting him from me? You were a mess, Ramona. Drinking too much, crying all the time, making terrible decisions. Someone had to think about Adrian's future. I worked 2 jobs to support him while you bought designer handbags. I invested most of it. Where? Show me the investment accounts. Fiona's face went pale. It's complicated. Show me the accounts, Fiona. There were some losses. The market... You spent it all, didn't you? She sank back into her chair. Not all of it. How much is left? Maybe 8,000. 8,000 out of 50. I felt the room spinning. You stole $42,000 from a 5-year-old child. I was going to pay it back. When? After you bought another vacation home? Aunt Camilla cleared her throat. Perhaps we can work out a payment plan. No. I stood up, Adrian's hand in mine. We're past payment plans. I've already filed charges. The room erupted. Mom started crying. Dad started shouting. Cousins started talking over each other. Through it all, Fiona sat frozen, staring at me with something that looked like hatred. You can't be serious, Dad said. She's family. Family doesn't steal from children. Think about what this will do to the family name, Mom pleaded. The scandal... Should have thought about that before you spent my son's college fund on roof repairs. I picked up Adrian, who had been quietly coloring through the chaos. Mommy, why's everyone yelling? He whispered. Because sometimes adults make bad choices, baby. But we're going to make it right. As I reached the door, Fiona called out, You'll regret this, Ramona. When you're sitting alone with no family left, you'll regret it. I turned back to face her. The only thing I regret is trusting you in the first place. We gave you everything, she screamed. We helped you when no one else would. You gave me back scraps of what you stole. That's not generosity. That's cruelty. I walked out, Adrian's small hand in mine, leaving behind the sound of my family falling apart. In the car, Adrian asked, Are we not going to see Grandma and Grandpa anymore? Not for a while, baby. Because they were mean to us? Because they made choices that hurt us. And sometimes, when people hurt us, we have to protect ourselves. He nodded solemnly, then went back to his coloring book. My phone buzzed with a text from Angela. I heard what happened. I'm proud of you, and I'm testifying on your behalf. At least someone in this family had a conscience. The formal charges were filed on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, Maria called with news that made my blood run cold. Fiona's been moving money, large transfers to offshore accounts. Her attorney is claiming she's liquidating assets to pay you back, but this looks more like she's trying to hide what's left. Can we stop her? I'm filing for an emergency asset freeze. But Ramona, if she's already moved the bulk of it, then there's nothing left to recover. I'm sorry. I hung up and immediately called the detective handling the case, Sarah Martinez. Detective Martinez, this is Ramona Jordan. I need to know, can Fiona leave the country? Not without surrendering her passport. Why? She's moving money offshore. I think she's planning to run. I'll look into it. In the meantime, stay alert. Desperate people do desperate things. That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. Ramona, this is Patricia from your parents' country club. I'm calling because there's been some talk. My stomach dropped. What kind of talk? About your family's legal troubles. I thought you should know that your parents' membership is being reviewed. Reviewed? Well, the allegations are quite serious. Financial fraud reflects poorly on the club's reputation. I almost laughed. Their precious social standing was crumbling, and somehow this was my fault. I understand. I'm sorry, dear. I know this must be difficult. Difficult. Like I was going through a rough patch instead of exposing a years-long criminal conspiracy. That evening, Angela called. I just left Mom and Dad's house. It's bad, Ramona, really bad. How bad? Dad's locked himself in his study. Mom hasn't stopped crying since Sunday. And Fiona... What about Fiona? She's acting like nothing happened, making plans for their anniversary party next month like the whole family isn't falling apart. Anniversary party? The big one. 40 years of marriage. They've been planning it for months. Rented the ballroom at the Grandview Hotel. Invited 200 people. They're still having it. Fiona insists. She says canceling would be admitting guilt. She's handling all the arrangements, spending money like water. Whose money? That's what I'm wondering. I called Maria immediately. The anniversary party? Can we use that? If she's spending money that should be frozen? If we can prove she's using stolen funds for the party, absolutely. But we need evidence. I'll get it. The next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I called Fiona directly. Ramona? Her voice was cautious. I want to talk. Face to face. I don't think that's a good idea. Mom and Dad's anniversary party. I know you're planning it. Silence. I'm willing to discuss a settlement, but I want to see where the money's going first. You want to help plan the party? I want to make sure it's worthy of them. They deserve a beautiful celebration. I could hear the wheels turning in her head. The chance to show off, to prove she was still the golden child, was too tempting. Fine. Meet me at the hotel tomorrow at 2. The Grandview Hotel was exactly the kind of place Fiona would choose. All marble and crystal, designed to impress. She was waiting in the ballroom when I arrived, surrounded by event planners and vendors. Ramona! She air-kissed me like we were best friends. I'm so glad you came. Look at this space. Isn't it perfect? The ballroom was stunning, and probably cost more than I made in 6 months. How much is all this costing? Don't worry about that. I've got it handled. I'm curious. Humor me. She pulled out a tablet, scrolling through invoices. The venue was $8,000. Catering for 200 is $15,000. Flowers are $3,000. The band is $4,000. Photography, decorations, wine, $35,000. Closer to 40 with everything included. Where's the money coming from, Fiona? Her smile faltered slightly. I have savings. Your savings were frozen yesterday. The color drained from her face. I transferred some funds before the freeze. To where? That's none of your business. I pulled out my phone and started recording. So you moved money to avoid the asset freeze, and now you're spending it on a party? Stop recording me. This is evidence of contempt of court. You're violating a legal order. Turn off the phone, Ramona. $40,000. Almost exactly what you have left of Adrian's money. This party is for our parents. This party is your last hurrah before you go to prison. She lunged for my phone, but I stepped back. You're insane, she hissed. You're destroying this family over money. You destroyed this family when you decided to steal from a child. I gave you everything. I supported you when no one else would. You gave me back pennies of what you stole and called it generosity. The event planner cleared her throat uncomfortably. Perhaps we should reschedule this meeting. No need, I said, still recording. I've heard everything I need to hear. As I walked out, Fiona called after me. The party's still happening, Ramona, with or without you. We'll see about that. I sent the recording to Maria and Detective Martinez before I even reached my car. Within an hour, Maria called back. We've got her. Contempt of court, violation of the asset freeze, and now we can trace exactly where she moved the money. The party's off, and she's looking at serious jail time. Good. There's something else. The DA wants to offer her a plea deal, full restitution, and 2 years probation if she pleads guilty. No deals. Ramona, she had 5 years to do the right thing. She chose to steal more instead. No deals. The anniversary party was supposed to be in 3 weeks. Instead, it was going to be the day Fiona got arrested. Justice had its own kind of timing. The anniversary party was still happening. Despite everything, despite the legal proceedings and the family chaos, my parents decided to go ahead with their celebration. Fiona had convinced them it would show strength, that canceling would be admitting defeat. I wasn't invited, but Detective Martinez was. We'll execute the warrant at the party, she explained over the phone. Maximum impact, and all the witnesses will be in one place. You want me there? As the victim, yes. You have the right to be present when we make the arrest. I arranged for Adrian to stay with the babysitter. My son didn't need to see what was about to happen. Then I put on my best dress, the one I'd worn to job interviews and court dates, and drove to the Grand View Hotel. The ballroom was exactly as Fiona had planned it. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables draped in ivory linens. 200 guests in their finest clothes mingled with champagne glasses, celebrating 40 years of marriage while pretending the family wasn't imploding. I slipped in through a side entrance, staying near the back. Angela spotted me immediately and made her way over. I can't believe you came. I can't believe they're still having this party. Mom's been crying all week, but Fiona convinced her it was the right thing to do. Said the family needed to show unity. Where is she? Angela nodded toward the front of the room, where Fiona stood near the head table in a stunning red dress, playing hostess like she owned the place. She was laughing with guests, accepting compliments on the beautiful event, basking in the attention. She's been telling everyone that the legal troubles are just a misunderstanding, Angela whispered, that you're having a breakdown and making false accusations. Of course she is. My parents sat at the head table, looking older than I'd ever seen them. Dad kept checking his watch, while Mom smiled weakly at well-wishers. They both looked like they were attending a funeral instead of their own anniversary party. The speeches began. Family friends stood up to toast my parents' marriage, their successful business, their wonderful daughters. Each mention of family unity felt like a knife twist. Then Fiona took the microphone. Thank you all for being here tonight to celebrate my parents' incredible 40-year journey together. Her voice carried across the room, confident and clear. Family is everything to the Richards family. We support each other through good times and bad, and we never let outside forces tear us apart. She looked directly at me when she said it. Mom and Dad taught us that loyalty means everything. That family comes first, always. And that's a lesson I've carried with me every day of my life. The crowd murmured approval. I felt sick. So please, raise your glasses to Miguel and Noelle Richards. The ballroom doors burst open. Detective Martinez walked in flanked by 2 uniformed officers, their presence immediately commanding the room's attention. Conversations died mid-sentence. Champagne glasses froze halfway to lips. Fiona Richards? Detective Martinez's voice cut through the silence. Fiona's face went white. The microphone slipped from her hand, hitting the floor with a sharp squeal of feedback. You're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and identity theft." The room erupted. Guests gasped. Chairs scraped against the floor as people stood for a better view. Someone's phone was already out, recording. "This is a mistake," Fiona said, her voice shaking. "I haven't done anything wrong." "You have the right to remain silent," Detective Martinez continued, pulling out handcuffs. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." "Mom!" Fiona looked desperately at our parents. "Tell them this is insane." But Mom just sat there, tears streaming down her face. Dad had his head in his hands. "You have the right to an attorney," Detective Martinez continued as she cuffed Fiona's hands behind her back. "If you can't afford an attorney, one will be provided for you." "This is my parents' anniversary," Fiona screamed as they led her toward the door. "You can't do this here." "We can do this anywhere a crime has been committed," Detective Martinez replied calmly. As they reached the door, Fiona spotted me in the crowd, her face contorted with rage. "This is all your fault," she shrieked. "You destroyed this family. You destroyed everything." The officers kept walking, but her voice carried back into the ballroom. "You're nothing without us, Ramona. Nothing. You'll regret this for the rest of your life." Then she was gone, and the ballroom fell into stunned silence. I walked to the front of the room, past tables full of shocked faces and whispered conversations. My parents looked up at me with expressions I couldn't read. Shame, anger, grief, all mixed together. "The woman you just watched get arrested," I said, my voice carrying in the quiet room, "stole $50,000 in child support payments from my 5-year-old son. For 5 years, she let him go without while she spent his money on luxury items and family gifts." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "She forged legal documents. She manipulated court proceedings. She lied to everyone in this room about where her money came from." I looked at my parents, and some of you knew, some of you suspected, but you chose to look the other way because it was easier than asking hard questions. Mom started sobbing. Dad still wouldn't look at me. "I didn't want it to happen this way," I continued, "but when someone steals from a child, when they destroy a family with lies and greed, there have to be consequences." I turned to leave, then stopped. "Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. I hope it was worth it." The ballroom stayed silent as I walked out, leaving behind the wreckage of 40 years of marriage and a family that would never be the same. The newspaper headline read, "Local woman arrested for child support fraud at parents' anniversary party." The article included a photo of Fiona being led away in handcuffs, her red dress a stark contrast to the silver bracelets around her wrists. I folded the paper and set it aside as Adrian climbed into my lap with his cereal bowl. "Mommy, why is Aunt Fiona in the newspaper?" "Because she made some very bad choices, baby." "Is she going to jail?" "Probably." He nodded seriously, then went back to his cereal. At 5, he understood more than I wished he had to. My phone rang. Cruz. "I saw the news. How are you holding up?" "I'm okay. We're okay. The restitution hearing is next week. My lawyer says we should get most of it back." "Most?" "She spent about $15,000 that can't be recovered, but the rest is coming back to us, plus interest and penalties. $35,000. Not the full 50, but enough to change everything for Adrian and me." "There's something else," Cruz said. "I want to start seeing Adrian regularly. Real visits, not just the awkward supervised ones we tried before." "Cruz, I know I screwed up during our marriage. I was distant. I didn't communicate. I let my pride get in the way. But I never stopped caring about him, and finding out that I was paying support all along, that I wasn't the deadbeat everyone thought I was, it changes things." I watched Adrian carefully arranging his cereal by color. "He asks about you, why you don't love him enough to help us." Jesus, Ramona, I'm so sorry. He deserves to know his father tried. He deserves to have a relationship with you. I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Angela holding a casserole dish and looking nervous. "I brought dinner," she said when I opened the door. I wasn't sure if you were eating. Come in. She set the dish on my counter and turned to face me. I testified yesterday, at Fiona's arraignment. I heard. I told them about the money she gave Mom and Dad, about the vacation house purchases, about all the time she flashed cash and claimed it was work bonuses. Thank you. The prosecutor says she'll probably get 3 to 5 years, more if she doesn't cooperate. Good. Angela sat down at my kitchen table. Mom wants to see you. I'm sure she does. She's not doing well, Ramona. The stress, the public humiliation. She had to be hospitalized yesterday. I felt a flicker of something. Not quite sympathy, but not satisfaction either. What does she want? To apologize? To explain? There's nothing to explain. She chose to look the other way while her daughter stole from her grandson. She says she didn't know the full extent. She knew enough. Angela sighed. What about Dad? What about him? He's lost everything. The business reputation, the country club membership, most of their friends. He sits in his study all day, staring at the wall. Actions have consequences, even for family. I looked at Adrian, who was now building a tower with his cereal pieces, especially for family. Family is supposed to protect each other, not prey on each other. So that's it? You're done with all of us? I'm done with the version of this family that enabled theft and called it love. I'm done with people who gave me scraps of my own money and expected gratitude. What about the people who didn't know? What about me? I studied her face. Angela had always been different, quieter, more observant, less caught up in the family drama. She testified against Fiona when it mattered. You're here, aren't you? I am. Then you're not done. My phone buzzed with a text from Maria. Restitution approved. Check will be processed within 48 hours. Also, Fiona's attorney called about a plea deal. She wants to talk. I showed Angela the message. Are you going to talk to her? No. She had 5 years to talk to me. She chose to steal instead. She's family, Ramona. So is Adrian, and he's the family I choose to protect. That evening, I sat with Adrian as he colored in his workbook. The apartment felt different somehow, lighter, like a weight had been lifted from the air itself. Mommy? Yes, baby? Are we rich now? I laughed. Not rich, but we're going to be okay. Can we get the good mac and cheese? We can get whatever mac and cheese you want. He grinned and went back to his coloring. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Tomorrow, I'd quit one of my jobs. Next week, I'd start looking for a better apartment. Next month, Adrian would start seeing his father regularly. The family I'd grown up with was broken, maybe beyond repair. But the family I was building, with Adrian, with Cruz, with people like Angela who chose truth over comfort, that family was just beginning. My phone rang one more time. Unknown number. Hello? Ramona, this is Fiona. I get one phone call and I hung up. Some conversations were over before they started. Some bridges were meant to burn. I turned off my phone and helped Adrian finish his coloring. We had better things to do than listen to excuses from thieves.